Hi, welcome back everybody. It's Mike Newton down here at Latham Golf Academy. Got a really exciting review for you today, especially for me personally, and it's the new Wilson Staff Utility Iron. So, as many of you know, I do play the Wilson Staff Blade irons, which I think are phenomenal. They are fantastic iron, feel beautiful, look amazing, and they've now brought out a utility like driving iron, either an option of a 2, a 3 and a 4 iron, which would sort of very much coincide with the irons. So very excited to try this. Many of you know I am a long iron player, so this could be the perfect fit to go in my bag with my Staff Blade irons. So really excited to hit that. So we're going to test it. We've got GC Quad on the floor as always. Going to give you some data, my personal feedback of how this club performs, give you some visuals of the looks also, and we'll see possibly if this can make it into my bag. Okay, so Staff Model Utility Iron. Let's talk a little bit about the technology in the head first, what's happening and how possibly this can try and help you when you're out on that golf course. So it's a hollow body construction that we typically see now a lot with these more utility irons. Hollow head, so creating a little bit more of that spring effect, a little bit more of that forgiveness, pulling centre of gravity away from that club face, ultimately making it more forgiving on those slight miss hits, which is typically a good thing in these long irons. We know these long irons, you know, in a traditional long iron are quite a tough club to hit, and many of the golfers now through custom fit, we don't put those in the bag, replace it with either hybrids or something like a utility iron. We've got a Marazin C300 steel face. It's a high strength face that we saw in the C300 iron model from Wilson, so creating some fast ball speeds across the club faces, again especially on those miss hits. We've got a 7-gram weight on the bottom, so you can see that screw there, so again that's pulling CG low, helping with that launch or ease of launch of getting that ball in the air. But a beautiful high polish finish. We've got that nice little crimping around that hosel, which always brings back memories of the old original Wilson irons. But it's a beautiful look. It's very sort of shiny. Presenting that down by the golf ball, again, it sits lovely. Obviously, we're going to see a slightly thicker top edge than you would do in the blade because of the size of the head, but the heel to toe length isn't massive, so it's not a huge lump that's sat behind the golf ball. Sometimes you find in those utility irons. Beautiful polished sections again. Probably the only negative I'm going to have here is a bit too much offset for my liking. First glance, there's a bit of offset there. You know, I'd probably prefer to see a little bit less of that. Again, I've got the Staff model irons, the blades, which obviously have very minimal offset on there, and then I would probably want to try and keep that look as I would move into this utility iron, but maybe just a little bit too much offset from there. Just seeing a little bit of the back behind the golf ball sticking out, but nothing that sort of is very, it doesn't draw your eye to that, so you do sort of see it if you look closely, but I'm more sort of drawn to the face really, to be honest, as I put that down. So it looks great. So let's get one hit to start off with. Really excited to hit this one because, as many of you know, a long iron is definitely a club that goes in my bag. So this is the 18 degree. It's available in 18, 21 and 24. Right hand only, unfortunately, for you left-handers out there. Whether they bring a left-handed one out in the future, I don't know, but only right at the moment. And that's an absolute rocket. Explosive sound there, really good flight on that. Definitely feel that hollow sound, that hollow head. You can feel that it's a hollow head with just through that acoustics a little bit, so it's probably not going to be as muted, well, it's definitely not as muted as what you'll find with a pure blade, forged blade iron, which isn't hollow. Okay, so that was a little bit low heel. Just turn it on that left-hand side a fraction there, but still got up and away quite nice, and that's the beauty of these types of irons in that hollow construction, probably with that weight in that bottom, just makes that forgiveness level a little bit better. We know probably in these long irons, I mean, I'm a pretty decent ball striker. I know I'm going to miss that middle, and these long irons are harder to hit. But when I do that hollow head, feel much more forgiveness and safer to use than a traditional bladed sort of iron in a way. And I've actually got my Staff Model 3 iron here, which is obviously, again, pure blade, very small, very thin on that sole. And I appreciate this is an 18 degree in the utility iron, which is a 2 iron, but just looking at the difference there between the soles, they're so much thinner on the traditional blade than it is in that hollow construction. Again, we've got that weight in that bottom. We've got maybe a little bit more of a harder face, again, about ball speed. Potentially this is more of a driving iron, isn't it? So it's an option off the tee. So typically we wanted to try and strive and get get that extra distance, but also with that accuracy that you're going to find with the iron. Presenting them down next to each other, there's a huge difference of look. You know, you've got a very slim slither of metal in the traditional blade, and now it's just beefed up a little bit, fraction longer on that blade length. And ultimately that's given me a lot more forgiveness as I'm presenting that down with the golf ball, and that's a good thing. You know, I want that. You know, if I get that out on that tee bed, I don't want to have the pressure think, God, I'm gonna have to hit the middle of this or otherwise it's dead. You know, I've got that confidence that I can put more of a freer swing on it, and know if I do miss it, I've got that backup of the head in terms of that forgiveness. Oh, I mean, that's just fires away. Feels fantastic. Flight's very forward, very penetrating there. That's getting over that 250 mark, which is great for a long iron for me. You know, if I can hit it around that sort of 250 area, get that accuracy that I tend to see a little bit more of with that iron, which is one of the reasons why it does stay in my bag, a driving iron. Beautiful. Again, that is a little bit low in the face, but that's flown so well. I get feedback of the missed strike. Obviously just dropping a tiny bit of distance there, 242. I know I've hit that slightly low in the face, but visually it's still a really good flight there. So these were initially sort of made, designed for the tour players, and it went in straight into Gary Woodland's bag and a lot of other Wilson staff players there, both PGA Tour and European Tour. So it was an instant hit with those guys, and obviously with Gary Woodland, we know he's very famous for that really low stinger that he hits. So for that, I'm just going to try and hit some of those little stingers there. That was a little bit more of my normal stock swings there. Obviously my strike will just change that ball flight fractionally if I hit it up and down that club face. But I'm going to try a couple of low sort of stinger shots now and see if I can just get this flight dropping down, because we know these hollow headed irons are a little bit more geared, you know, with that weight at the bottom to try and get the ball up and flighted. So I'm just going to move that ball a little bit further back in my stance now. Just try and control that loft. Oh yeah. That's a little bullet. Absolute bullet chaser. So again, that's getting up into that 254 area, which is fantastic. It's coming out a little bit shorter on that carry because obviously it's not in the air as long, but it's running, you know, like a little hair across that grass there. So again, it's a great option. Now, if it's just windy, that just felt so easy to hit. Let me just try another one. So again, a little bit more central in my stance, just cover that loft a little bit more. Yeah, good. Fraction higher on the flight there, but that is really going forward. Really going forward. And more distance there, 258. Fantastic. I love that. Love the feel of it. It's just that, probably one negative for me is just that little bit of offset. But I think I'm getting over that. You know, I'm not really seeing many go miles left here, which is good. Sometimes with a bit of offset, I feel like I could just turn it up that left-hand side. I'm going to hit one more here. So another stinger. Let's see if I can get a Gary Woodland couple of degree launch stinger. That is low. Just turned up that left side a little bit. I just turned it over a touch, but that is low. Okay, right. So there we go. Wilson staff model, utility iron. I liking it. This could be a contender for the bag. But let's go and look at some numbers in a little bit more detail and see how that is actually performing. Okay, so let's look at some numbers. So obviously the last three shots hit there with a stinger. So that's 6.7, 8.6, 3.9 on the launch. It was a low one, that last one, was the stinger shot. So looking at the standard ones around that 8 to sort of 10, probably averaging around that sort of high 8, just touched into maybe 9 degree of launch there, and spinning sort of routine that 3,300 to 2,700. So again, around that 3,000 as an average, which is fine. You know, strike obviously just changes that a little bit there, doesn't it? So looking at the peak height on the standard ones, see 23, 27, 19 and 20. As soon as you go into that sting, you can see how we can drop it 13, 22, and that last one, that was a real low one. Tried to do a bit of the Gary Woodland one there, peaking out at only 8 yards in height. So very playable is that club. You know, you can start to really move that ball flight around if feel like you've got the skills to do that. Obviously you've got to make those changes through the swing, and how do you feel confident doing that when you're out on that golf course? you need to maybe sort of decide on that. But really happy with that sort of ball speed coming out, spin numbers in that right sort of area. Getting some good carries up there, you know, on the standard ones like 236, running out 255, potentially into that 258 out, which is perfect for me. If I can hit that with that little bit of accuracy, then it's a great option off the tee, you know, especially when it's windy as well. Okay guys, so there we go, there's a Wilson Staff Utility Iron. Beautiful club, isn't it? What I did mention in the review there is I was using that in the KBS hybrid shaft, which is a graphite option, which comes as sort of standard. It's an 80 gram version. That was in a stiff flex there. I would typically have an X in there, so that would probably just help to get my spin number just a little bit lower. But I do quite like it in that graphite option, just makes it a little bit easier to sort of swing. Possibly you've got options through custom to have steel built into these going forward. But cracking iron. Post your comments down below, let me know your thoughts. Is that something that possibly you will go out and try yourselves? We know the price points with the Wilson are always a little bit less than maybe other bigger brands out there, so always sometimes a better value, I would always say. I think these are coming in at £169, so tends to be a little bit less than most of the other competitors out there, but a fantastic quality, great club, great look, super on its performance. I'd say maybe just that little bit of offset just slightly puts a slight negative on it for me, but I think I can soon get over that when I see the ball fly like that. So post comments down below, let me know what you think of that new iron. If you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there and you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And while you're there, just ring that bell so as soon as a video lands on the channel, you'll be one of the very first ones to watch it. Hook up on the social media platforms, both Instagram and Twitter. The handles there are @MNGolfCoach, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.